to basically create a character in Fallout, creating your archetypal characters or whatever. The first video was about creating how I actually allocated my stat points for special. The last video I just did basically talked about the perks that were associated with that archetypal character, and for this video, I'm going to break down all the other perks that were not available in the previous video that I'm going to show you here. Now, I'm using a mod for this, so I'm actually, yes, haha, I'm cheating, and I'm using a mod to actually give myself every single perk in the game, even though my stat lines do not really enable me to have some of these perks. So I cheated, used a code, and pretty much here we have this. It's not really a code, it's a mod. So anyway, as I mentioned, I stopped like in the previous video about my archetypal character, which is a sniper. So perception. What were the stats that were not available to me the last time? Obviously, sniper was not available. Now it is. Obviously, as a sniper character, this would be a very, very important thing to actually look at. All it does, basically, is it helps you achieve headshots easier with this game, and when you actually aim with your scope, the scope doesn't kind of wobble around so much. So, as a sniper, pretty fun, and also every time you hit an enemy target, you knock them down, which is pretty cool. So, very, very cool perk to have. Penetrator is the level 9 perk. Basically, you could shoot the enemy through the wall. Yeah, kind of a cool perk to have. And then you have Concentrated Fire. So every time you shoot someone's leg, and then you shoot their leg again, and then you shoot your leg again, each time you do it, it causes more damage, and it's more accurate for you to do so. So those are the perks that weren't available to me in the last video. Now they are. And of course, obviously, as a sniper, all three of them are extremely useful to your character. So I would definitely, use those. Now, what wasn't available to me in the last video for intelligence, robotics expert, which I kind of gave you my mixed opinion about, until the downloadable content came out where you're actually going up against the robot person and all the robots that were invading the Commonwealth. I didn't really have much use for this sort of perk until that, but if you like messing around with robots, hacking them, and causing chaos with that, this would be a perk, but I've never really found much use for it. However, I did find tons of use for nuclear physicists, simply because if you like to wear power armor, this is an absolute must perk, because it helps you wear the power armor longer because your fusion cores last longer, so a very important thing to have. And then, of course, you have this perk called Nerd Rage, which is at level 10. It's almost like an emergency thing where if something happens to you where you're almost dead, you automatically gain super damage resistance, and you actually can do more damage. Like if you're a melee character, this would be pretty cool to have. However, I've almost never used it. By the time I ever get to this level in the game, I don't need it anymore. So that's the reason why. Okay. Quick hands. The only ones that weren't available to me under agility were Blitz and Gun Fu. And I already kind of talked about Blitz. Gun Fu, kind of funny. It's like I guess the humorous title for this perk is related to, like, say, that movie Equilibrium, where basically Christian Bale plays this priest that can shoot the. It's almost like he can walk around and do all these kung fu moves, but with a gun, though. He could kill enemies that are all around him and stuff, and I guess that was what the play on this was. But basically, if you hit something in your VATS, whenever you freeze time and you aim the next target you hit, you instantly do critical hits, and it's almost like the more people you shoot at, the more powerful you get. So, pretty cool. It's up to you if you actually get this up to level 10 and you want to get this perk and put some levels into it, go right ahead. But as I said, by the time you get to, if you want to actually make yourself a level 10 in agility, you're already pretty much, you've gotten pretty far, I think, into what you want to do with the game. So, all right. So the things that I did not discuss. Let's go down this route here. We'll start with luck. So in the last video, I told you about Fortune Finder and Scrounger. Scrounger would actually be way better than Fortune Finder, simply because if you find more ammo, not all ammo is worth the same. Some ammo is worth a lot more than the others. So if you trade that high value ammo in, you get more caps. My favorite of all of the luck perks would be level 3. Because there's this perk called Bloody Mess, and it is absolutely hilarious. It's always been hilarious for all of the Fallout games. As the name suggests, and as you can read on the screen right now, every time you kill a bad guy, they kind of explode, and it creates an awful mess. It's the most gory, graphic, horrific death you can think of. That's what happens. But it's not just a matter of humorous in terms of how they die. It also gives you a 5% damage bonus. So kind of funny to get. I've always liked this perk, but as you go up, you add more points to it. You get a plus 10 in damage. Then you get a plus 15 in damage, and then you also have the chance of making enemies that are standing nearby explode and share the same fate as your target. So as a sniper, this is hilarious, because you get to see all these cinematic sequences where basically you, well, shoot someone in the head and yuck. You can imagine what you get to see with that. However, with the maxed out Bloody Mess perk, if there's somebody nearby, they also die too. So, pretty cool. Mysterious Stranger. Never been a big fan of it, but it is pretty cool when it happens. Basically, as the name suggests, every time you're trying to shoot someone and you're using the VATS system, a mysterious stranger shows up and also shoots your bad guy, and sometimes he kills them outright, so it's pretty cool. But, as I said, not really something that you really have to invest in unless you enjoy the opportunity of seeing the mysterious stranger show up. This perk right here, it is absolutely stupid. I've never really cared for it. Basically, the lower your intelligence, I mean, every time you do something in this game, you build something, you kill a bad guy, whatever, you have a chance of all of a sudden you gain like 2 or 3 times the normal amount of experience. I've always thought this perk was just stupid, and I don't even know why they included it in the game, but I guess they thought it would be funny. Then we had better criticals. As a sniper, this would be a very, very important one for you to get, simply because every time you put points into it, you do 50% more extra damage. And every time, as a sniper, you're shooting for someone's head, which is an automatic critical hit. Needless to say, very important. You hit someone in the head, and you'd even do 50% more damage. Very cool. Now, add that to Ninja, and that's, say, Mr. Sandman with a silenced weapon. Yikes. You're talking about a sniper that can knock anybody out in one shot. So, very good perk to have if you're interested in that. Critical Banker, which is your level 7. Basically, you can save up. You earn critical hits by each continuous attack you make in the game. As a sniper, you're probably shooting at someone's arm, then shooting at their leg, or shooting at their head. And each time you hit them, your critical meter goes up, and then you can actually execute a critical shot with your sniper rifle, which usually kills your opponent. All this basically does is it lets you save up those critical shots. So you can actually save up 3 or 4, let's see, yeah, 4 critical hits. So at some point you can encounter a really, really tough bad guy, and then you can execute literally 4 critical hit shots in a row. So when you're in a real tough situation against a boss type person or whatever, cool to have. Grim Reaper Sprint. Now in this game, it's actually been, man, they really nerfed this perk. In the other Fallout games, this was like the ultimate perk. Simply because, I mean, seriously, like, of all the perks in all the other Fallout games, Grim Reaper Sprint was always the best perk. Because every time you killed something when you're in VATS, it automatically restores all of your action points, and you can kill, like, literally you can keep killing. Every time you kill something in VATS, you can move on to another target, and you're completely restored, so you can kill that person, then you move on to the third person, and the fourth person. You can take out, like, a whole room of bad guys in one turn. And in the old Fallout games, that was vital, man. You'd walk into a situation with the 5 dudes in a room ambushing you or getting the drop on you, whatever. You could take out all 5 of those dudes in one turn, and they wouldn't even get a chance to react to you. So in the past, that was like the best perk ever. They nerfed the hell out of it in this game. I'm sorry. They've made it so weak. It has here, under the first level, you have a 15% chance every time you kill something in VATS. A 15% chance to restore all action points? Give me a break. In the previous games, it was a 100% chance. And of course, two in here, 25% chance, and then a 35% chance. It's weak, okay? I mean, I would always get this perk because I love it, because when it actually works, you can take out a whole slew of enemies, but you're really relying on low probability. Even at the highest perk level, 35% chance is terrible, okay? Terrible. But in the old Fallout games, this was like the ultimate perk. I kid you not. Fallout 3, Fallout 2, Fallout 1, this was like the perk to have. I mean, it was awesome. Four-leaf clover, as the name suggests, every time you hit something in VATS, it has a chance of filling your critical meter. The chance is not very high, so take your odds with that and act accordingly. If you need to dump some perk points or something, you could use it in this if you want, but the chances aren't really that high that this happens. At least when I've ever played it, it hasn't been as often as I would have liked. So I could assume, though, what's funny, though, it would almost be like Grim Reaper Sprint and Four-Leaf Clover were they were supposed to be the same perk, and they kind of mixed it and they cut it in half, in my opinion, but that's just me. Of the two, obviously, Grim Reaper Sprint, way more important. This is just kind of like a probability thing. I don't know what the chances are. The probability for both of these perks working sucks anyway, so it doesn't matter. But Four-Leaf Clover, you have a less chance than Grim Reaper Sprint, so I would choose Grim Reaper Sprint. Then you've got Ricochet. Pretty much, an enemy shoots you from a distance, there's a chance that whatever when they shoot you, it ricochets back and instantly kills them. I've never really used this perk, to be brutally honest with you all. So it's kind of like one of those things where you'd have to kind of be the judge of it yourself. I mean, when it works, it's a pretty cool thing to see happen. But the question is, how often does it happen? I mean, what are the numbers, the probability of it happening? If you don't know that, then you know I would not take risks with that. I would look for guarantees. Okay. Now, charisma, I use that as my other dump stat. I think I talked about Cap Collector, Black Widow in the last video. Lone Wanderer is a pretty cool one if you're one of those people that doesn't like to use companions. I don't know why anybody would not want to use the dog, at least, dog meat. You sick people out there that don't like dogs, I don't know what's wrong with you to begin with, but even if you're not even going to have the dog as your companion, wow. But if you're one of those people that insist on being a solo person in this game that doesn't use any of the companions that offer their assistance to you, then I would invest points in this perk because it helps you out. At level 1, you basically do 15%. I mean, you take 15% less damage and you can carry more crap. So that's pretty cool. Okay, then it actually increases. And then once at level 3 here, you actually do 25% more damage. Now, I won't lie to you, when I play Fallout 76, I play solo almost all the time. This was a perk I maxed out, like, immediately. And my character became, like, much more tough, I mean, to be around. And, of course, as a downside, though, in Fallout 76, whenever you had to team up with somebody or join a group, obviously the Lone Wanderer perk went away because you lost all the buffs that it gave, so it kind of didn't help me out. So later on in the game, if I ever had to work with somebody, it actually made my character a lot weaker, so I didn't like doing that. But in this game, if you're one of those people that likes to do everything by yourself, and if you are kind of a sneaky character, sneaky sniper, this might be one for you, because your companions do have a tendency to trip off, they set off traps, and they also set off alarms, and bad guys notice them. They may not notice you, but they will notice them, because your companions are stupid. So that's really up to you. Attack Dog, basically this perk only applies to you if you use the dog as your primary companion. Just gives your dog options to do certain things. They can actually hold an enemy for you. They can cripple your enemy's limbs. They can cause your enemy to bleed to death. Pretty cool. And of course, when you're adventuring with your dog, you take 10% less damage. Pretty cool. But that's only if you like the dog, and only if you use the dog. If you don't use the dog, then this perk is absolutely 1000% worthless. Animal Friend. Kind of a dumb perk. I've never really used it. Basically, you can aim your gun at an animal that's below your level, and you can stop them from killing you. That's pretty much all it does. And of course, at the highest level, you can give the animal commands. I think this is this really stupid perk because the animals that they're describing in this game aren't the ones that you really have to worry about. So, I don't know. It's really not one I would recommend. If you're one of those people that likes building settlements in this game, you absolutely must choose local leader simply because it helps you create supply lines. And then, of course, you can also build stores and workshops at your settlements at the second level of this. So, if you're a person that loves to create settlements and create big communities in those settlements, you absolutely must have these two perk points for local leader. Otherwise, if your charisma is too low, or if you don't use the settlements and don't care about them because they are kind of obnoxious and annoying, then don't bother with this. It's not something for you. Party Girl, I don't know why this isn't lit up. That's really strange. Basically, I don't know. I've always thought this was a stupid perk, but um, what's funny is if you drink alcohol in this game and get yourself drunk, it actually increases your endurance and your strength stats, but it lowers your intelligence and all that. So at least I might have that backwards. I'm sorry. But basically, this just basically states that you won't get addicted to alcohol when you drink the beer or the spirits, and of course, maxed out, your luck is increased by 3 while you're under the influence of alcohol. So, woohoo, yay. I've never really cared for this perk. Inspirational, another perk that I don't really care much about. If you're someone that relies on your companions to do the fighting for you or to be meat shields or whatever, then I would recommend putting perk points into this. I've never really had to do this, but the only one that does kind of makes sense is the second level of inspirational, because you can't hurt your companions then by your stupidity in this. So if you accidentally shoot them or throw a grenade or nuke them by accident, they won't turn hostile to you or die. So that's a good thing. If you're someone that doesn't like to use companions, this is an absolutely worthless trait. But most people in this game will use companions because they're pretty cool. I would recommend this only when you have no other options to use points on. Now, Wasteland Whisperer, it's almost the same as Animal Friend, except it's actually referring to the really nasty kind of enemies in the game, like scorpions and death claws and stuff that can really hurt you. So, of the two perks, Animal Friend I've always found to be absolutely worthless. Wasteland Whisperer would be more effective in terms of if you needed to use this perk for anything. I've never used it. I think it's dumb. I'm one of those people in this game that I kill everything I see. So if I see a red scorpion or deathclaw, whatever, I just kill them. I don't care. I'm not trying to make friends with them or get them to do things for me. So, but some people like to play the game lightweight and make animals their companions. Fine, up to you. Then you've got Intimidation. I've also never really used this perk, but apparently it is pretty cool. As the name implies, you basically scare the hell out of other non-player characters, and you can get them to do things that they don't want to do. You can persuade them in dialogues, and you can also, you can tell them to do things. It's pretty cool at the highest level, but I've never really had a use for it. So those of you who like to play the charisma, and I honestly don't think, in this game, this game is not built for people that want to go through the entire game without engaging in combat. This game, unfortunately, wants you to be a good guy, but a good guy that engages in all sorts of gunfighting and combat. So talking your way out of things in this Fallout game, it's not really realistic. So it only helps you in certain situations. Other than that, it doesn't help. Okay, so I don't know. Charisma in this game, it's only good up to a certain point, and I would say local leader. So the highest that you would ever need in this would be 8 or 6. Okay, so for endurance, I think I told you about, your absolute necessity, which is toughness, lead belly, which I think is stupid, life giver, which is also one of those ones that's very important, Chem resistant, kind of similar to Party Girl, except instead of talking about alcohol, it talks about drugs. So same thing. Aqua Girl, pretty much you no longer take damage from radiation from swimming, and you also breathe underwater. Um, this is one of those perks that's just so stupid. I don't really use it. The radiation you get from walking in water or swimming isn't really that much, and you can take Rad-X and other things to avoid getting irradiated. So this is something for people that really want to explore the undersea environment, which really isn't a reason to do so because there's only so many mysteries in the game. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend that perk. Rad resistant, you might want to choose this, especially if you are playing the game in hardcore mode or survival mode. But as a normal regular player of this, especially if you're new, not very important one to have. Obviously, there's a lot of radiation in the game, but you don't really need to avoid it that much because you can cure it. Adamantium Skeleton, the only time I've really liked having this were in the older Fallout games, simply because in the older Fallout games there were a lot of people that, there were a lot of bombs and stuff that you had to disarm, and sometimes it didn't go so well, and that would not be good. In this game, a lot of your enemies throw hand grenades, and sometimes you're trapped and you can't get away, and every time that explodes nearby, obviously if it doesn't kill you outright, you're crippled. So having this perk and having points put into it will definitely help you because it reduces limb damage. And of course, this is a play on the character Wolverine from the Marvel Universe. So Adamantium Skeleton implies that you're pretty much indestructible. So cool thing to have. Cannibal. You basically can eat dead things, dead people, and it heals you up. In previous Fallout games, this would actually earn you some scorn and disrespect. In Fallout 3, people thought it was in Fallout 1, 2, and 3, eating dead people doesn't go over well. So it's more of an amusing perk or a desperation perk than anything else. And I think it's also in Fallout 76, which is gross. But sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures, I guess. Ghoulish, if you're playing the game on the hardest level, like the hardcore mode or survival mode, Ghoulish would be a good perk to have, simply because the radiation will restore you. And at its highest level, it's pretty cool. Fallout 76 would probably be the one game where I would actually, if I want to go back and replay that game, I would actually create a character that would be geared towards this perk, because they have the same kind of perk in that game. Because there's so much radiation in that game. It's real easy to get radiation sickness and die, simply because everything is radioactive and it's awful. I don't know who thought of that whole thing in the game, but it is pretty, stresses you out. Let's just leave it at that. So choosing the Ghoulish perk in that game would be a wise thing to do, because the radiation will actually heal you instead of kill you, so cool thing. As it also implies in this game, there is a lot of radiation, but how much of it do you really need to avoid? Because you can heal it. So that's up to you. Solar powered, it's very similar to the Night Person perk, except when it's daytime, you gain strength and endurance. So if you're one of these characters that's a melee barbarian kind of character, this would be pretty cool to have. So, and it might be very, very helpful to you. But that's, I don't know. I don't really get into that. So, anyway, strength. I'm running out of time again, so I got to speed up. I already covered Iron Fist and Big Leagues, basically your two melee combat perks that you would want to invest in if you were a melee character. As I said, for rookies and new people to Fallout 4, I do not recommend you play as a melee character or someone that fights with your fists. The game's just going to be that much harder for you. Same goes with Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is an extremely difficult game if you're going to play it as somebody that uses fists and melee. But to be brutally honest, all the Fallout games are harder when you choose melee, simply because you have VATS, which helps you shoot things from a distance, so it kind of wants you to be a sniper or somebody that uses guns more than it wants you to do anything else. But up to you. If you like to play the game that way, you want to play it like Skyrim, there you go. You have your options, okay? Your level 3 perk is Armor. If you actually get your bobblehead for strength, and you had your strength like at 2, which I think my archetype character had. Let me see. Yeah. This would be a cool perk to invest in simply because I can modify armor and make it stronger. So kind of a cool perk to have for any character, doesn't matter what. Then you've got Blacksmith. If you're a melee character that uses bats, swords, all the other melee weapons available, this would be a necessity simply because you're going to upgrade all of your weapons. But there really isn't much you can do with a lot of the melee weapons in this game, which is kind of disappointing. Like your sword, you can only make it. You can like electrify a sword. You have like a shish kebab, which is like a flaming sword, and you can only modify that a few times. It's very limited for what you can modify with melee weapons in this. So, I mean, it's really up to once again, if you're going to be the barbarian warrior archetype character, then yeah, you would need to invest your points in Blacksmith. Now, Heavy Gunner. I've played through this game as a fist melee character as well as someone that used swords and bats and stuff. One thing I did, even though I've already told you all the rules in terms of your combat in this game, I actually would invest points in Heavy Gunner as well, because there were some enemies where I literally could not kill or defeat with my melee weapons. So I had to actually invest in this so I could use like missile launchers, miniguns, and the big boy, the Fat Man gun that launches these little miniature nuclear bombs at bad guys. So I would actually invest in that simply because I could take out the bigger, more difficult enemies without getting close to them, especially the Mirelurk Queen, because she will absolutely just kill you if you try to run up on her, because she spews this toxic crap on you, and it's awful. So the best way to kill a Mirelurk Queen is to stay way, way far away from her and just nuke her or hit her with missiles or something. So I would invest in this if you are a melee character, no matter what, at least a couple points into it, because it helps you take out bigger enemies. Strong back. The only thing this is good for is if you like to carry around more crap. So, and yes, in this game you will be carrying around a lot of crap. So if you want to carry around more stuff, then go ahead and use this, but otherwise, it's not really essential. Steady aim, as it pretty much implies, it's mostly for people that like to play almost like a first-person shooter type of game where you're shooting from the hip. And by the way, one thing I don't think I've ever mentioned this, so I'll mention it now. In this game, your enemies like to dodge, and they're very good at dodging you, and it's really obnoxious. So if you're one of those people that likes to shoot from the hip using any kind of the weapons in this game, you're probably using an automatic weapon when you do it, because if you're using a rifle and you're shooting from the hip, that's just stupid. Pretty much this would be your perk for that, if you like doing it. I don't recommend shooting from the hip in this game for any reason, unless you want to challenge yourself, okay? Use the VATS system to aim, and use it for everything, okay? Just, it makes life a lot easier, and it's a lot more accurate. You don't want to waste ammo, and your enemies are going to dodge, which really sucks. But if you're one of those people that really wants to play this game like you're playing Doom or something, then yes, invest points in this because it will make things easier for you to shoot. I don't recommend it, though. If you're going to be a sniper in this game like my archetype is, steady aim is worthless. It doesn't help you at all. Basher, another one that I don't really care for. Obviously, if you're already a melee character, why are you carrying a gun? That's really stupid. But basically, if you're carrying a shotgun or a rifle or any kind of weapon and somebody rolls up on you, you can bash them with the gun and it does more damage. I don't know. It's so stupid to me. If you're already getting that close to a bad guy, why are you using a gun? I guess you'd be having a shotgun or something. I don't know. But that's what this perk is for. If you're like one of those people that's paranoid that the enemy is going to run up on you while you're sniping and you want to bash them, which doesn't do as much damage, then you would actually add perks to this, and you can actually do some serious damage from bashing. But look at what you have to actually have a level 8 strength to get this perk, so it kind of diminishes the whole purpose of it, right? Rooted, as a melee character, if you're going to be standing still and hitting somebody, yeah, this is a good perk to have, because it gives you 25% damage resistance, and also you deal more damage, but you have to be standing still. And in this game, I don't recommend standing still while you're attacking a bad guy with a melee weapon. It doesn't work out too well. I would actually recommend you use moving target. That would actually be the better perk, because it helps you evade and stay alive. This will actually help you get killed a lot faster. But at a higher level, it is pretty good to have. But as a sniper, you won't need this. Even though you are standing still, your enemies should not be that close to you. And of course, I always thought this was a really silly perk, but the Pain Train is actually a really fun perk to have if you're a person that loves power armor, because, as the name implies, if you start running while you're wearing power armor, you can run over the bad guys and run through them, and you absolutely crush them. So it's really cool. Except, obviously, your big enemies and robots are immune to the Pain Train, which is really sad. But everybody else, like the raiders that are going to be everywhere in the game, and the ghouls, you can just run them over, and it's hilarious, because at a higher level, you kill them all just by running into them. So, cool thing to have, but only if you're a power armor person that likes to play with that is this a great perk. Obviously, if you're not someone that uses power armor, if you're a sneaky sniper like I am, power armor kind of defeats the point. So, anyway, I went over time. Sorry about that. But these were the other perks that I just kind of wanted to go over them with you all to kind of give you an idea what they're good for and what my opinions are regarding using them. And that's all she wrote.